You are now listening.
You are now listening
to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.
Welcome back. Black Male Educator Alliance podcast, season 2, episode 3, lifting our voices. Gentlemen, it's good to see you guys again. It's been a couple of weeks, huh?
Yes, sir.
Seemed like we were just here, man.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of, but when you think about the last time we were here, we were less than 24 hours after the election. You know, we've had a couple of weeks to digest it. Now, some folks are still digesting it in their own way.
Some people, man.
But I think, you know, we've had enough time to know what's happening in January.
Hey, Rick, stand up to the folks in Wayne County, the citizens, the voters of Wayne County, shutting it down yesterday. That's
fine pressure. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We should have had that clip ready of my guy going off. I don't know if y'all seen that.
Oh,
yeah. I should have had that loaded up. We had to add that to the stream some kind of way.
Absolutely. So, you know, it's been a minute, but Mike, how you been? You been all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Blessed.
Any new updates you need to share with the folks?
Man, I'm still working. Everything's good over here. I just had a Founders Day for the greatest fraternity on the planet. So, you know, just
happy Founders Day, brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chris, other than that,
what's new?
Let's see what's going on, man. Nothing too much. I'm pushing back on the mental block of, you know, when you have a little break coming up from work. Next thing you know, you can't get out of bed. You tired. So I'm just pushing back. 'Cause I know it's all in my mind. So I'm just pushing back on that and really trying to make the days count as we get a little break here next week.
Dr. Lewis.
Hey, man, look, just celebrated my 32nd birthday. I go backwards in my birthday. So, no, but I just celebrated my birthday on Sunday. Had a good weekend. COVID safe, I think. But no, it was a good time.
Good. Yeah, you know, I'm good. Just trying to grind, trying to figure out how much daylight really needs to be saved. You know, I feel like it's getting darker earlier than usual even. But, you know, we're figuring it out.
Until December 21st or 2nd. And then it's going to start getting lighter. The days are going to get longer from that point.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, yes, science education.
Yes, sir.
All right. Shout out to all of our STEM folks. We got a bit of a show today. We got to get to it. So we're going to speak with Dr. Dorinda Carter. We're speaking with a freshman in college, Sade Ried, for our Detroiters who are watching, alumna of Renaissance High. So shout out to her. See her in a second. Also want to encourage our listeners, you know, if you have any questions as you're watching, if you have any comments as you're watching, please drop them and we'll get to those at the end of the show. Make sure we address any thoughts or questions people have. But that's it. We got to jump in because we don't have a lot of time and we got people we need to get to. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Curtis, and we'll get this show rolling.
Yeah, before we get started, I'm going to turn it over. Chris going to show us a quick clip of our guest that's coming up first. Get a little snippet of what she's all about.
I'm guessing that last night at the dinner table, you weren't talking about white supremacy and whiteness as a cultural norm. And I figured this morning as you were preparing to come here, the topics power, privilege, and oppression weren't on your mind. Now, I'm saying these things jokingly, but the reality is our society has socialized us to not raise critical questions about these topics. And in reality, they exacerbate the racial and socioeconomic inequities that we have in society that then perpetuate themselves in our educational system. Schools never have, nor do they currently prepare adults and young people to learn how to respect each other across cultural differences. Now, I've spent a lot of times in school as a student, a K-12 teacher, a teacher educator, and a researcher. And I've come to realize that racism, along with other forms of oppression, are still a major impediment to the academic underperformance of many students of color and poor students in our country.
Yes, good stuff. Good stuff. I was, I've seen that video like 30 times, and I get into it every time. But Dr. Dorinda Carter Andrews, I've had the pleasure of her being my dissertation chair, my advisor when I was getting my doctorate back in 2006. So like,
right?
I am 32. I got my doctorate at 27.
Okay.
But that ain't adding up. But anyway,
Shout out to her.
anyway, she's been I've talked about often when people talk to me or interview me the importance of Black women that have been in my life. I talk about my grandmother, my mother. She's one of those people that I often refer to as someone who's helped to cultivate the person I am today. So I'm not gonna, last time I introduced her, I almost got emotional. She almost got emotional. We're not gonna do that. But she is she's a full professor. I met her when she was assistant professor. She's a full professor, like tenured, time tenured. They can't do nothing with her. And she's also the chairperson of the teacher ed department at the greatest university in the state of Michigan, Michigan State University. I won't go into detail. You know what they say, somebody's real big time, you can just Google them. Just Google her. Dr. Dorinda Carter Andrews. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So glad to be here.
Welcome. Thank you. So with that, if you could just get us started, we're going to jump right into it. I didn't want to reach about. Just give us the folks a little bit about you. So what brought you, telling your journey to Michigan State University?
Man, let me tell you, first of all, good evening, good people. It's so good to see y'all out there in the stratosphere. I came to MSU from grad school. I am an engineer by training, but an educator by birth. I tell people that all the time. I come from a family of educators and started out in K-12, high school math, taught some kindergarten, didn't expect to end up in higher ed, but I've been here 15 years doing the work, just doing the work.
Wow. Well, let's jump in. I mean, I'm excited, Dr. Carter. You're someone who was very influential when I was in college. Even though you were my professor, you were still influential. That's crazy, right?
It is.
And we've stayed connected over the years. So I'm very, I just feel fortunate to be here interviewing you. So I was doing some research. I know that your mom from an early age taught you it was important to be an eagle flying above the storm. And you've talked about the importance of educators to be eagles for students.
Yeah.
I want you to describe for us the historical presence and role as eagles that, and much more, that Black women have played for Black and brown students in urban schools in our country's history.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I mean, one of the things, like you said, my mom always would tell us, all three of her daughters, you're eagles, you fly above the crowd. And I think she specifically chose the eagle because of their characteristics. I don't know where she got that from. Maybe her parents told her the same thing, but I think about eagles. Eagles have vision, they're fearless, they're tenacious, they're high flyers, they nurture their young. That's what teachers do. Right. And my mom grew up in the Jim Crow South. She was educated in a one-room schoolhouse. She grew up in a Christian faith-based home. And so I think she understood the spiritual meaning and analogy of an eagle. And she wanted to pass that on to her kids. And I think when you think about teachers broadly, but particularly Black teachers historically, they have had vision for Black kids. They have taught us to be fearless, right? Tenacious. They have taught us to fly high despite historical and even present day racial inequity in society and in schools. So, Black teachers have been, and particularly Black women teachers, have nurtured their young from the first common school, and from even the time when we weren't allowed to legally be educated. So I think about eagles, and I think about Black women as those eagles in schools for Black children, brown children, really all kids. But it's definitely essential that they have been there and continue to be there for Black and brown kids.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, and your guys' representation is important. And so we know you do a lot of work in the schools, and you also talked a little bit about your research. Tell us a little bit about like what are some things that you inspire you from what your research and what you've seen in the schools, and what are some things that are alarming in the current state of education?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, even in my own work as an educator and as a researcher, I really try to help classroom teachers, administrators, and policymakers, that includes school board members too, enact social justice agendas in school that prioritize racial justice. So one of the things I try to get educators to understand is you can't have a social justice agenda if it doesn't prioritize race and racial equity, right? And I think we can get caught up in talking about social justice, but minimize racial justice. And in urban schools, we can't risk that, right? That can't be on the table. So I just try to help school leaders and practitioners have a critical race consciousness and bring issues of race, racism, racial justice to bear in everything they do. From the questions they ask in the classroom, how they cultivate relationships, how they're making assignments, right? How school board members make decisions. Are they thinking about racial disparities? I think a couple of things that continue to trouble me about the current state of schools is we're partly focused on the wrong thing, right? We need to revisit the purpose of schools, which are largely about cultivating productive members of the workforce and the democracy. But we forget that we're doing that when both are constructed in a system of racial capitalism. That's why I'm saying your social justice agenda has to have a racial justice agenda. So I'm troubled by that. I'm also troubled that we don't tend to mental health challenges that not just students, but also teachers are navigating daily. And let me just say, these were present before. They're just more prevalent now that we're in a global pandemic. And we're likely to continue to see how those challenges are racialized if we look at patterns, right, of who's disproportionately affected. So, those are some of the things that are bothering me about the current state of education. But I will tell y'all, I'm hopeful and I'm inspired by this generation and the generation that's coming behind them, because this generation of young people, they're not here for the games, right? They have an authentic thirst and commitment to social justice, and they're already working towards transformation. We just got to listen to them and get on their bandwagon, right? So I'm inspired by them, and I'm inspired by those in their generation who are saying, I'm going to try this teaching thing because I believe it's a place where my footprint can change my community.
So I actually, Dr. Carter Andrews, that is a great segue into the question that I have for you. So let's talk about Generation Z. They're coming up, they're getting ready to go through college, be on the other side, coming into the classroom as teachers. For the teachers, especially teachers who aren't people of color or Black folks, and they're coming in with their own biases, or their own ideas of the dynamics of white supremacy. Where should they start in trying to get some level of clarity around some of that? Is there a resource you have for them, or is it just experience and going through it and being cognizant? What suggestions may you offer a young teacher or somebody who's interested in coming into the classroom?
That's a great question. I mean, I think there are a couple places people can start. The first, I think, right, is understanding societal dynamics of privilege power and oppression, I think oftentimes we're ready to jump off. I want to do something. And we come into the table with different understandings around equality, equity, power, and privilege, right? So, if you've got that motivation, that zeal, okay, channel some of that energy into understanding what are the societal patterns around issues of inequity in schools, in healthcare, in the criminal justice system. Have conversations with your family, your close friends, right? And then begin to turn the mirror on yourself. Locate yourself in those systems of privilege and disadvantage and say, man, based on what identity markers do I have privilege? And am I using that privilege in helpful or harmful ways, like in school, but also just in my daily life, right? So it's this bigger understanding, and then it's turning the mirror on self. That can be done with reading, but sometimes we can get stuck in reading books. We need to be in dialogue with people so we can move to action.
So I have a similar question, but it's a little bit flipped. So we also know, you mentioned it yourself, that, the kind of the institution of schooling right now, obviously there's some racism involved in that.
Yep.
And it can be easy, especially for teachers of color, to fall into some of the racist socialization that can be a part of that system. You have similar advice or totally different advice for our teachers of color who are really battling with interacting in a system that is racist?
Yeah, I
think
part of what you're raising is, first, we have to acknowledge whether we're a teacher of color or a white teacher, or an indigenous teacher, that we're all socialized in this same system of white supremacy, right? So even as a teacher of color, you can perpetuate some of the functions of white supremacy if you're not careful. That's why I say that self-analysis is important, right? So while I experience racism as a Black woman, and that racism is often gendered, I got 4 degrees, 2 of them from Ivy Leagues, right? So that's some privilege. I identify as heterosexual. I'm a cisgendered woman, right? So those are some privileges, and I need to be examining, even as a woman of color, how I might utilize those in ways that actually oppress my students in what I say and what I'm doing. So for teachers of color, that turning the mirror on yourself is important.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I told you 15 minutes. I'm on mute. Okay, there we go. Can you hear me? All right, I got Chris shut me down. I got one quick question. I know we said 15 minutes, but I got a question from the audience, which I think is a good question. How do you, in essence, balance putting in the work that our children need, deserve, especially in this pandemic, with supporting the mental health of the teachers? Like, how do you strike that balance between, we're all in a pandemic, we're here to serve our kids, but we also want to make sure you're good, but we also want to make sure we're providing the best learning experience.
I think the learning experience, Curtis, is important. That right now it's about how are our babies experiencing school. It may not necessarily be about benchmarks. When we try to hold teachers to the same standards we had pre-COVID, we're not only going to burn them out, like they are going to mentally check out. So we all, I think, have to be about the business of focusing on the experience and what kind of experience we want kids to have in a global pandemic. For me, that's about joy for learning, happiness in learning, even if they don't meet the state standard for this academic year, right? And that minimizes some of the stress for teachers. But I think school leaders have to set that climate. They got to set that climate so a teacher can feel like I'm not as pressed in that area. The last thing I'll say, look, I'm a parent of 3 myself, and I'm learning in this pandemic, there's more I have to do at home. Like, that's real talk, that this is a partnership between me, the school, and the teachers. I'm finding that I'm emailing teachers more, just trying to communicate more. And I think parents, while it's hard, we do have to kind of level up for our kids and help teachers out in this season.
I love it. I love it. Level up. Level up. That's we're gonna leave it right there. We all need to level up. Level
we
up.
all gotta level up. This is not a normal that we're used to, but we all need to maintain our sanity and give grace and lower these expectations that weren't designed and created for our well-being in the first place. That's real talk.
And on that note, we appreciate you, Dr. Dorinda Carter Andrews, for stopping by, sharing the wealth of knowledge that you have. This won't be the only time you hear from her. She'll be doing, she don't know this yet, but she's going to be doing some workshops and all that stuff for us. So shout out to her. Continue to do the good work. I know you got to fight up there in higher ed too.
Yes.
Do the work. The first, you were the first Black woman, right, to be the chair of
the Black woman to be the chair of the department. Yeah.
Michigan State, like, first of all, let's clap that up. And second of all, stay more in that shoe. But we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, love you. Take care now. All right.
Bye, Dr. Carter.
Thank you.
That was good.
Good stuff. Y'all see why I'm so smart.
Yeah.
So for those of you who were with us when we had Chris Emden on the last episode, we transitioned from getting the adult perspective of what's going on to getting a more, no offense to Dr. Carter Andrews, but a youthful perspective of what's going on. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chris so we can move on to our next segment.
Absolutely. I'm excited about our next guest, Miss Sade Ried. It's kind of crazy for those who you wouldn't know this, but she actually attended a middle school that I worked at here in the UPrep district. And, Dr. Lewis was her principal actually as well. So to know someone that long, and then now you're talking about them being a freshman in college and really just killing the game from all the way back then. She's been a remarkable student to now. It's something I'm extremely proud of. And she's also a mentor to my younger daughter, Jada, as well as many other young boys and girls around the city. So we're going to bring her up, but I'm going to first, before I even say what college she goes to, I want to play a short video clip, because this was a big deal. If you know her, she got a lot of scholarship money and a lot of accolades. But I thought it was going to be good to bring her on today to talk about the impact of the pandemic on her and just her approach to education and just find out what's going on. But before we do that, let's watch the video and then we'll bring on Sade.
I am Sade Ried, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I am a first-generation student. I know this means a lot to my parents and family, but for me, as cliche as it may sound, this means hard work pays off. This means I can be an inspiration to other students. This means I can serve as a mentor or support for those just like me. This is not going to be a pain narrative about a girl from the inner city validating her achievements. This is me being vulnerable, bringing the strength to my background, and sharing this experience with my family and my city. I applied to 11 colleges, admitted to 8, waitlisted at 1, and rejected from 2. Their mistake. I'm grateful for the sacrifices my parents made to get me here. I take pride in both the battles they've won and lost. Given the circumstances of our reality today, I cannot resist addressing the coronavirus cutting the year short for high school seniors. But if I've learned anything from this pandemic over the past several weeks, it's that more uncertainty is coming our way. But in the face of this uncertainty, we don't worry. We have and will continue to prosper in it. Amid COVID-19, I received life-changing news. I was accepted into my top 3 choices: Stanford, Harvard.
All right, now the video cut off right there, but don't bring Sade on. Welcome,
Sade.
How you doing?
Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
YouTube, by the way. Can you hear us? Sade.
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I have myself on mute. Hi.
Okay, now you said you were accepted to what 3 schools? Before we say which one, I'm gonna pass it on to Jerry, but just because the video cut off, what were the top 3?
Oh, Stanford, Harvard, and Rice.
Okay.
So you attend Rice, I'm assuming.
So, Sade, welcome to the show. Just tell us about yourself. We got a little bit about you in the video. I don't know when that was filmed. It's maybe in the springtime. Maybe a lot has happened since then. So tell us, one, where are you actually attending school, and how that experience has been so far.
Okay. So yeah, that video was filmed actually in the spring, like in April, the first week of May. We're on like college decision day. Anyway, so I am actually a Stanford. I'm actually a student at Stanford, but I have this on because all the schools that I visited, or like all the schools I've been accepted to, I have college apparel. I mean, there's nothing against them. They were actually places for me. I applied there. So yeah, so I'm Sade Ried. I just recently graduated from Renaissance. I was also a student athlete. I ran cross country and track. I was all state and track. So I have a passion for running and working out. Like even to this day, I still work out and run, but I haven't been running lately because it's kind of cold outside. But yeah, so that's a little about me. And where are you right now? Are you in Palo Alto? Are you in Detroit? How's that pandemic impacted your freshman year so far? So right now in Detroit, I'm at home in my room. This is my bedroom. I'm sitting at the desk. So for me, this pandemic has definitely impacted me because I'm not able to, be on campus and have that physical experience of being on the college campus and interact with other students. However, for me, I think that when I found out that I wouldn't be on campus, I was upset, but it's one of those things that I can't control, and it's just how I try to apply everything in life with my mindset. You only focus on the things that you can't control. So when I found out that I would be at home, I know that I decided, okay, I have to apply the same effort at home as if I would be there. And I know if I was there, I'll be the student always raising my hand in class to ask questions or attending office hours and everything. So I still do that at home virtually. I mean, the effort, you have to try a little harder. It's you have to, I spend a lot of time on Zoom because I'm not only attending class, but I also attend all the office hours, still build that relationship with my professors as if I was actually there so they can actually get to know me and who I am, things I care about, things I want to do. So yeah, that's a little bit about how the pandemic impacted me and how I'm taking classes at home. But this is the final week. I'm done on Friday. My first quarter has come to an end.
Congrats.
Good stuff. Congratulations.
Congrats. Let me ask you this, Sade. And we have a lot of high schoolers that we work with. So how do you balance, being responsible as a student, but also maybe just home responsibilities of, helping your family, your younger sisters? How do you find that balance and maybe time management or just juggling responsibilities to still excel as a student, but also still, help your parents out if they need you, or help your younger siblings out with homework, or help keep the house clean, all the stuff that comes with being at home?
This is a very interesting one. My mom may say I don't find that balance. She says that I put school before things that I need to do at home, like chores and stuff. But I do get things done at home. I still do my chores. I think though that for me, it has kind of been hard because I've been busy with schoolwork and other extracurriculars. But I think having a planner is very helpful. I literally write down everything that I know I need to do, and it's not right here, I cross it out once it gets done. And if it doesn't get done, it's it just rolls over to the next day. So I think having that planner and just knowing what you need to do, because when you get to a point when you have so many things to do, there's no way you can just memorize everything. If I don't write it down to go put them clothes in the dryer, then I'm not gonna remember to do it, you know? So I have to like write things down so I can remember not only things for school, but also things at home too. So that's having a planner is a big thing for me. I utilize a planner and Google Calendar every day.
That's gonna never change in your life. Trust me.
Ever.
Without my calendar, I don't know what to do next. So good practice early. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, me and Dr. Lewis were just talking about getting organized just like literally yesterday. I'm like, man, listen, and it's always trying to refine and optimize it too, you know. Yeah. So yeah, good stuff, Sade. Mike.
So Sade, you're currently a math major, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a math major. But
okay. Hey, listen. First of all, congrats on getting to college. Do not feel bad if you change your major, right? Because all of us do. But you know, traditionally, math and STEM are usually like male-dominated majors, and so kind of just as a woman, what inspired you to go into math in terms of a major and in that field?
For me, I've never really looked at it as like it's a male field, so I can't do that. It kind of has been like I've always enjoyed math in school. Like I just personally thrive off of figuring things out, like things that seem so challenging at first, and once you figure it out, it seems like everything makes sense. Like I kind of gain a sense of satisfaction from that feeling. Like I get a feeling of satisfaction from that. So I kind of like solving problems. That's why I like math. That's why I'm studying math. But like knowing that STEM fields are male dominated, that just like urges me even more to show them like, oh, I can do this too, you know? So that's just I guess that's just like, I don't know, like that just motivates me. It's a motivator. That doesn't discourage me from studying math, but actually like propels me to want to study math even more, you know?
So
yeah.
Maybe be a math teacher one day.
Pardon?
Maybe be a math teacher one day.
I don't know about being a math teacher.
Man, put on the spot.
So I do have a question because I know you mentioned, you know, you're doing your freshman year from home, and I'm thinking about, you know, my freshman year on campus and what that was like from a social perspective. And so I can imagine you're missing some of that, but you know, how are you keeping, you know, your mental health together? You know, are you doing things that you're interested in, engaged in? How are you keeping your mental health solid right now?
So yeah, for me, I mentioned this before. I have a passion for running and working out. So I don't like working out. It doesn't only keep me in shape physically, but mentally as well. So like this whole pandemic, a friend and I, we went and ran 3 to 5 miles every Monday through Friday. But so he went away to school. So I haven't been running on my own anymore, but I do work out with like a trainer and everything. So that's how that kind of keeps me sane. Like, when I'm stressed out, I just look forward to the morning time. Like, I'm gonna just work out tomorrow. Because when you're working out, you don't think about all the things you have to do in the schoolwork. You're kind of focusing on what you're doing in the present moment. And that's one thing I do. What else? I have a journal that I write in, not as often as I want to, but when I do write in there, I will sit and write for maybe an hour and a half, because when you start writing, it's just like you can't stop. And it's like you just have so much to write down, depending on like what's been going on in your life over these past several weeks that you haven't journaled. So that's another thing I think that's very helpful. And I also enjoy going back and rereading it, like rereading things that I wrote maybe years ago or months ago. So that's another thing. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. I don't really watch TV, so
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Sade, we definitely don't want to hold you. Want to definitely thank you for joining us. You know, it's you know, definitely we appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And for the listeners, you know, she's someone to watch out for. She's going to make an impact on this world, and I've been saying that for the last 5 years, and you know, she's still in that track. So we want to say thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations on finishing your first semester at Stanford, and someone said reflection is key and a life skill that will pay off for years. I agree. I want to say thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Good stuff. You keep up the good work. Good stuff.
Take care.
Thank you.
So appreciate again Sade joining us. It's been we're already 35 minutes in already. It seems like we've been doing this for about an hour, but good stuff. You know, I feel fulfilled, ready to get back to it right now. I got to wait till tomorrow, though. So as we close out, I just want to remind everyone, follow us, social media, Instagram. You're on Facebook right now if you're watching us. I know we wanted to make sure we get to any comments or questions. So, Chris, we got anything?
I asked the one question to Dr. Carter for sure.
Oh, you got one? Okay.
Yeah, I did get one. I know I mentioned too in my post that like the 5 people that commented or got on and stayed on, I got a gift for them, right? So I know Bush is on here; he's been watching, but I feel like Angie Morris, who's been, let me say, she's been rocking it out in Lansing School District for a while. I worked with her years ago. I know she's been on here and she's been commenting, so I got something for her for sure. I don't know. I don't know if it's a deal. If a deal Boone is still on too. I don't know. You better say something if you're still on here. You better send a like or say I'm on here. And I think she might have been a second. Danielle Stringer, you came on a little late, but if you still on, you can say something too. I'll make you my third.
Miss Stringer.
Yeah, Miss Stringer representing you prep schools. And I think Jamal Harden. Chris, you know Jamal from back in the day. I don't know.
Jamal. I see Latavius in here too. Latavius Adams in the comments.
Latavius, if Jamal Latavius is on here, like just for y'all being on, I'm gonna send y'all some. So if you in here, put in the chat. I'm still here, and I got you. I see Angie and Sarah replying, so that means Stringer ain't on here. Yeah, or Latavius. So anyway, we'll be taking a look at that, and I got something for you. We'll be contacting you. So
and we appreciate all of the viewers. When we post it on YouTube, if you're watching, please subscribe so that you get the alerts when we're posting any of our content. Gentlemen, am I missing anything before we close out?
Oh, Latavius said he's here. He just commented.
Okay. I got you, Latavius. Okay.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks, you know. So definitely, like, you know, tune in every 2 weeks, 7 o'clock live. We're gonna be here. So we're excited for everyone rocking with us and rocking with the organization. Shout out to the fellows.
Shout out to the fellows. We got our next fellows convening a workshop on Saturday. Shout out to our new fellows, our early career fellows. We're looking forward to continuing to work with them, man. Just shout out to everybody grinding. Like, you know, I'm on the other end. You know, Dr. Carter is like, you know, this is the pandemic and, you know, it's hard. It's hard. It is hard, but we still owe it to our kids to put forth our effort. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. So we got to do our part too. All right. So we got some good guests coming up too. We got some good stuff coming up in December, so I'm looking forward to that too. We ain't gonna talk about it yet, but we got them coming up.
And to any of our viewers, if there is something, you know, content that you want to hear, topics that you want to be discussed, send us a message, and we'll do our best, you know, to meet the people's need.
All right. On that note, gentlemen, we are signing.
Hey, hopefully before we come back, our the guy who's sitting in that house down in DC has like admitted to has accepted the fact that he no longer
start packing his bags. At least.
Hopefully, I'm willing to help, but we're gonna start that today. But all right,
well, one way or the other, January 20th is coming, so it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Biden already said the Secret Service they know how to get rid of a trespasser. So
hey,
yeah.
All right, y'all.
All right, guys.
All right. Peace.
You are now listening to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.